Section 8. The silent men. They didn't fight back, not loudly at least. There were no marches, no manifestos, no angry headlines. Just silence. The kind of silence that creeps in slowly, like the tide pulling back from the shore. So gentle at first you barely notice it's gone, until one day you look around and realize the ocean isn't there anymore. That's what happened to men. For years they tried to understand, to adapt, to become softer, more empathetic, more sensitive, hoping it would make them more accepted, more lovable. But it didn't, because the moment they stopped being the rock, they stopped being respected. And the moment they showed emotion, they were called weak. No matter what they did, it was wrong. If they led, they were controlling. If they followed, they were pathetic. If they provided, it was expected. If they struggled, it was shameful. So they learned the one thing the world never prepared for. They learned to disappear, not physically, emotionally, spiritually. They went quiet, pulled back, built their own peace in solitude. You see them now, the men who no longer argue, no longer chase, no longer explain. They work, they lift, they create, they stay silent, because silence is the only space left where they're not being told they're wrong. And in that silence, something shifted. The world started to feel emptier, not because men stopped existing, but because their presence, their grounding, their steadiness was gone. Women began to feel it too, though they didn't know what to call it. They said the world felt colder, that relationships felt unstable, that love felt uncertain. They didn't realize it's because the masculine presence, that quiet protective energy, had withdrawn. Now, when a man meets a woman, he doesn't see her as potential anymore. He sees risk, he sees danger, he sees headlines, hashtags and heartbreak. So he stays polite, but distant, friendly but detached, physically there, emotionally gone. He learned peace by absence, because every attempt at presence was punished. That's the tragedy no one talks about. The silence of men isn't apathy, it's defense, it's exhaustion, it's the sound of generations who gave everything and got blamed for it anyway. And though the world pretends not to notice, it feels their absence everywhere. The home feels colder, the streets feel rougher, the laughter feels thinner. Because when men stop caring, the world doesn't just lose strength, it loses direction, it loses balance. And the women who were told they didn't need men are beginning to realize that what they lost wasn't ownership, it was harmony. Section 9. The Reckoning. Every lie has an expiration date. Eventually it collapses under the weight of its own emptiness. That's where we are now. The slogans are fading, the noise is quieting, the smiles are starting to crack. And beneath it all, something honest is beginning to stir, a quiet recognition that this isn't working. The hatred doesn't feel like power anymore. The loneliness doesn't feel like freedom, and the noise doesn't drown out the silence inside. Women are beginning to feel it. Men have felt it for years. The distance between them, the cold, the tension, the mistrust. It's not natural. It was taught, it was sold, it was planted. And for what? So that we could all feel equal? No, so we could all feel alone, because a divided people are easier to control. And the longer we keep fighting ghosts, the longer the real architects of this misery, will keep collecting profit from our pain. But here's the truth they didn't expect. No matter how much programming you run, you can't kill human nature. You can't erase the need for love. You can't rewrite the biology of connection. It's still there, buried under pride, under pain, under decades of deception. But it's still there. That's the reckoning, not revenge, not rage, but realization. Men aren't the enemy. Women aren't victims. We've both been poisoned, fed lies until we forgot how to trust each other, how to admire each other, how to need each other. And maybe that's the cruelest part. We didn't just lose love, we lost the memory of what it felt like. But the truth is patient. It waits. It always does. Because somewhere out there, men and women are beginning to remember, to look at each other not through filters of fear or ideology, but through the eyes of something ancient, something simple, something real. They're realizing that masculinity isn't toxic, it's protective, that femininity isn't weak, it's healing, and that when both meet without ego, something sacred returns. The world told us to choose sides, but the truth was never on either side. It was always in the space between, in the balance, in the partnership, in the peace that comes when two halves remember they were never meant to compete. They were meant to complete. That's the reckoning. Not a revolution, but a return to honesty, to harmony, to the ancient truth that built everything we once called love. And maybe, just maybe, when the noise finally stops and the pride finally fades, we'll look across that broken divide, see each other clearly for the first time in decades, and whisper the only apology that ever mattered. I forgot you weren't my enemy,